Strip. Line up. Don't speak. The words came in broken Japanese from a man holding a clipboard, not a rifle. She expected a bullet. What she got was a white cotton gown and a command that made no sense. Turn around, Saipan. July 1944. The tent smells like disinfectant and canvas sweat. She's one of 47 Japanese prisoners, nurses mostly, captured when the field hospital collapsed under American artillery. The propaganda films had been clear: surrender meant violation, humiliation, death. She'd seen the posters in Tokyo. American soldiers with demon eyes. Blonde women laughing as they held pliers over a prisoner's mouth. So when the man in the olive uniform points to the privacy screen and says, "Undress," she knows this is it. The execution before the execution. She strips slowly, hands shaking, waiting for the laughter, for the camera, for the other soldiers to rush in. But the tent stays quiet. Just the man with the clipboard and a female nurse. Blonde, expressionless, holding a folded gown. The nurse steps forward, holds it out, looks away. That's the first crack. Why isn't she looking? The man speaks again, slower this time, like he's reading phonetic Japanese off a card. Lizu, gown, on. He mimes, pulling fabric over his shoulders. The blonde nurse still isn't looking. She's holding the gown at arm's length, eyes fixed on the tent pole behind the prisoner's head. It takes 14 seconds for her to understand they're giving her privacy. She takes the gown, it's clean. No bloodstains, no tears. It smells like soap. American soap, sharp and chemical. Nothing like the rice bran powder she used back home. She pulls it on. The fabric is soft. Too soft. This has to be a trick. The man writes something on his clipboard. The blonde nurse gestures to a wooden stool. Sit, she says in English. The prisoner doesn't understand the word, but the gesture is universal. She sits. The tent flap opens. A second man enters, older, gray hair, stethoscope around his neck. He's not holding a weapon. He's holding something cold and metallic, shaped like a disc. Comment below what city you're watching from, and what time it is where you are. I'm curious how far this story travels. Here's what she didn't know. 94% of Japanese POWs surveyed in 1945 believed they'd be executed within hours of capture. The US military knew this. That's why the first stop wasn't interrogation. It was medical. Strip you. Check you. Prove you're not about to die of typhus or TB before you even make it to the processing tent. Of the 150 Japanese POWs taken during the Pacific War, only 148 were women. She was one of them. And her survival rate, 96%, higher than the American soldiers who captured her. But she didn't know that yet. All she knew was this. The man with the stethoscope was walking toward her. He said something in English. The blonde nurse translated into broken Japanese. Breathe. He pressed the cold disc against her chest over the gown she inhaled. Deeper, he said. She froze. Her heart stopped. Because in Japanese propaganda, breathe deeper wasn't a medical instruction. It was what interrogators said before they drowned you. Face down in a barrel. Water filling your lungs, the deeper you breathe, the longer you survive, and the longer they can keep you conscious while they ask questions. She'd heard the stories. The field hospital commander had told them all, if you're captured, they'll make you breathe until you can't. The medic tilted his head. Deeper, he repeated, miming inflation of his chest. She started to cry. Not loud, not obvious. Just silent tears sliding down her cheeks. Because she was 23 years old, and she'd thought she'd have more time. The medic noticed. He pulled the stethoscope away, frowned, looked at the blonde nurse, said something fast in English. The blonde nurse left the tent. Now it was just her and the medic. He held up both hands, palms out. Wait, he wasn't smiling. He wasn't angry. He just looked concerned. Like she was a problem he hadn't expected. 60 seconds of silence. Then the tent flap opened again. And the man who walked in, the one who would shatter everything she believed, wasn't white. He was Japanese, in an American uniform. When he spoke, it was in perfect Tokyo Japanese. Not the broken phrases of a foreigner. Not the rural dialect of the Okinawan translators she'd met. The cadence of home. "They're checking if you're sick," he said. She spat at him. "Traitor." The medic presses the metal disc against her chest again. "Breathe," he says in English. She doesn't understand. He mimes inflating his lungs, chest rising, shoulders lifting. She inhales barely, deeper, he whispers. Her heart stops. Because that word, deeper, it's the one from the propaganda films. The one whispered before the water rises, before the room fills with smoke, before your lungs betray you, and you gasp and there's nothing left but pain. The Japanese-American interpreter, the traitor in the olive uniform, steps closer. His name tag says Nakamura. He speaks slowly, like she's a child. "He's listening to your heart, your lungs, to see if you're sick, that's all." She doesn't believe him. She's shaking now. Full body tremors, because the disc is still pressed to her sternum and the medic is counting under his breath. 1, 2, 3, and she knows what comes next. The stories were clear. They drown you slowly. They make you participate in your own execution. Breathe heat deeper. Hold it, let it go again, deeper. Until your body forgets how to stop. Tears stream down her face. Not quiet anymore, audible. Gasping, the medic pulls back. He looks at Nakamura. Says something sharp in English. Nakamura sighs. Crouches down so he's eye level with her. "Look at me," he says in Japanese. She won't. "Look
At me?
She does. His eyes are brown, not demon red like the posters, just brown, tired. "Human. My name is Kenji Nakamura," he says. "I was born in Sacramento. My family grows strawberries. Right now, they're in a camp in California, Manzanar. You know what that is?" She shakes her head. "It's a prison," he says. "For Japanese people. American citizens. Like me. My mother. My 2 sisters. They're locked up because this country doesn't trust us. And you know what I do? I stand here in this tent and translate for a medic who's trying to keep you alive. So when I tell you he's not going to hurt you, I mean it. Because if I wanted you dead, I wouldn't be wasting my time." She blinks, processes. The logic doesn't compute. "Why?" she whispers. "Because," Nakamura says, standing up, "we're not like you." He nods to the medic. The medic holds up the stethoscope, the metal disc, and does something she doesn't expect. He puts it in his own ears, presses the disc to his own chest, listens, then he pulls the earpieces out, holds them toward her, gestures your turn. She stares at him, at the earpieces, at Nakamura who nods. Slowly, so slowly, she takes them, puts them in her ears. The medic presses the disc to his chest again, and she hears it. Thump, 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 his heartbeat, steady, rhythmic. The same sound as hers, the second crack. 22% of Japanese POWs arrived at American camps with active tuberculosis. 22. The U.S.? Military didn't know this at first. Not until the third wave of prisoners started coughing blood in the processing tents. TB spreads fast in close quarters. 1 infected prisoner in a tent of 40. Within 2 weeks, you'd have 8. Within a month, 20. The medics didn't have a choice. Screen everyone, immediately, no exceptions. That's why the stethoscope. That's why the chest exams. That's why breathe deeper wasn't a threat. It was a diagnostic tool. Tuberculosis makes a sound, crackling, wheezing, fluid in the lungs. A trained medic can hear it in seconds. But she didn't know that. All she knew was his heart sounds like hers. The medic gently takes the earpieces back, presses the disc to her chest again. Over the gown, careful, professional. "Breathe," Nakamura translates. She does. Shallow deeper. She inhales, ribs expanding. The medic listens. Moves the disc to her back. Again. She breathes. He listens. Moves the disc lower. Again. She breathes. And for the first time since capture, she realizes he's not torturing her. He's examining her. The medic steps back. Says something to Nakamura. Nakamura frowns. Looks at her. "You have a cough?" He asks in Japanese. She nods. She's had it for months. Everyone in the field hospital had it. Dust, smoke, coral debris from the bombing. It's nothing. Night sweats, Nakamura asks. She nods again. But that's normal. Saipan is hot. Everyone sweats. Nakamura translates for the medic. The medic's face goes serious. He writes something on the clipboard. Underlines it twice. Then he points to a machine in the corner of the tent. A box with glass tubes and a metal plate attached by a thick cable. It's humming. Low. Electrical. She's never seen anything like it. The medic gestures come. She stands legs unsteady. Nakamura walks with her. The medic positions her in front of the machine. Presses a cold metal plate to her back, between her shoulder blades. Says something in English. Don't move. Nakamura translates. And hold your breath. Her blood turns to ice. Because holding your breath, that's execution protocol. That's what they make you do before the gas. Before the room seals. Before you die standing up, lungs frozen. Choking on air that isn't there anymore. The machine clicks. A bulb flashes behind the metal plate, bright white, blinding for half a second. She flinches. The medic says, done. That's it. Nakamura guides her back to the stool. 15 minutes, he says. Then we'll know. Know what? She whispers. If your lungs are dying. He speaks perfect Tokyo Japanese. Not the broken phrases of a foreigner who learned from a textbook. Not the rural Okinawan dialect. The cadence of home, clean vowels, proper particles. The kind of Japanese her mother used when guests visited. They're checking if you're sick. Nakamura says again, standing with his arms crossed. The machine takes a picture. Of your lungs, inside your body. She spits at him, misses. The saliva hits the dirt floor between his boots. Traitor, she hisses. He doesn't flinch, doesn't wipe his boots. Just looks at her with those tired brown eyes and says, yeah, I get that a lot. The medic is across the tent, washing his hands in a metal basin. Doesn't interfere. Doesn't even look over. Like this happens every day. Maybe it does. You think I'm the enemy, Nakamura says. He's not angry. He sounds bored. You think I sold out. Betrayed the emperor. Dishonored my ancestors. He counts on his fingers, mocking. Let me guess. Your commander told you all Japanese, Americans were kidnapped as children, brainwashed, forced to fight for the whites, right? She says nothing, because yes, that's exactly what they told her. Wrong, Nakamura says. He pulls a photograph from his chest pocket, holds it up, black and white, a family. Mother, father, 2 young girls in school uniforms, and a teenage boy. Him younger, smiling. Sacramento. 1940. That's my family. My mom ran a boarding house. My dad grew the best strawberries in California. We had a dog named Chip. I played baseball. I got a B- in English because I talked too much in class. He tucks the photo back into his pocket. Then Pearl Harbor happened, he says. And 3 months later, soldiers showed up. American soldiers told us we had 1 week. Pack what you can carry. Leave everything else. House, business, dog, gone. They put us on a train, sent us to Manzanar. You know what Manzanar is? She shakes her head. It's a camp, he says. In the desert. Tar paper barracks, barbed wire. Guard towers. My mom and my sisters are still there, right now. While I stand here talking to you. He leans against the tent pole, arms still crossed. So yeah, he says, my family's in a prison. Because this country thinks we're spies, traitors, enemy collaborators, and you know what I did? I volunteered. Joined the army. Became a translator. You know why? She doesn't answer. Because if I don't, he says, voice flat, they win. The people who think I'm the enemy just because of my face. If I become what they fear, if I stop caring, stop trying, stop believing there's a difference between right and wrong, then they were right all along. And I refuse to give them that. Silence. The medic dries his hands, walks to the corner where the machine is still humming, opens a small door on the side, pulls out a piece of film, thin, translucent, the size of a book. He holds it up to the light, frowns, says something to Nakamura. Nakamura's face changes, not shock, not anger. Something worse, concern. He walks over to her, crouches down again. Listen to me, he says. The film shows something in your lungs. Dark spots. Lesions. You have tuberculosis. Do you know what that is? She knows. Kekaku. The wasting disease. Her grandmother died of it. Coughing blood for months until she was just skin and bones and labored breathing. It's treatable, Nakamura says. But only if you let them treat you. If you fight this, if you refuse, you'll die. Slowly, painfully, drowning in your own lungs. Do you understand? She stares at the floor. Why would you save me? She whispers. Nakamura stands, looks at the medic, looks back at her. Because, he says, that's the difference between us and them. The medic approaches. He's holding a small white box, opens it. Inside, rows of tablets. White chalky, unfamiliar. He takes out a blister pack, pops 2 tablets into his palm, holds them out to her. Nakamura translates. With food. For 6 weeks. It'll stop the infection. She doesn't move. They're poison, she says. They're streptomycin, Nakamura says. Costs more than most Americans make in a month. They're giving it to you for free. Why? Because, he says, losing patience now. You're a prisoner of war, not an animal. The Geneva Convention says we treat you. So we treat you. The medic still has his hand extended. Waiting, she looks at the tablets. At his hand. At Nakamura's tired face. At the X-ray film still glowing in the light behind them. Her own ribcage, her own lungs. The dark spots that are eating her from the inside. 87% of Japanese POWs initially refused to cooperate with Nizi interpreters. They thought the interpreters were tricks, actors, white men in makeup, or worse, race traitors who deserved execution. It took days, sometimes weeks, for the cognitive dissonance to break, for the prisoners to realize these men were Japanese. And they were helping. She takes the tablets, puts them in her mouth. The medic hands her a canteen. She drinks. The tablets taste like chalk. She swallows. The medic nods, writes something on his clipboard, says something to Nakamura. You'll stay in the medical tent? Nakamura translates. Quarantine. 2 weeks minimum. They'll monitor your fever, your weight, your cough. If the medicine works, you move to the main camp. If it doesn't, he stops. It'll work. The medic gestures to the tent flap. A female nurse enters, different from the blonde one, older, holding a tray. On the tray, a bowl of soup, a piece of bread, an apple. The nurse sets it on a small wooden table beside the cot. Smiles, leaves. She stares at the food. It's more than she's eaten in 3 days. Nakamura heads toward the exit, stops, looks back. One more thing, he says. The medic. His name is Lieutenant Brennan. He lost his brother at Guadalcanal. Japanese sniper. 2 years ago. And he just spent 20 minutes trying to save your life. Think about that. He leaves. She's alone. The soup is still steaming. The machine clicks. A bulb flashes behind the metal plate pressed to her back. White light blinding for half a second, and then, nothing. Just the hum. The electrical buzz that sounds like a trapped hornet. Don't move, Nakamura had said. She didn't. She held her breath, ribs locked. Certain this was the execution device. The one they'd been warned about. The American machine that stops your heart with light. But her heart's still beating. 15 minutes later, the medic, Lieutenant Brennan, pulls the film from the machine. Thin, translucent. He holds it up to a lamp hanging from the tent pole, tilts his head. His lips press into a line. He gestures for her to come closer. She doesn't move. He gestures again. Nakamura isn't here anymore. It's just her, Brennan, and the blonde nurse standing by the entrance. Brennan points at the film, points at her, points at the film again. She stands, legs unsteady, walks over. He holds the film in front of her face. And she sees herself, not her skin, not her face, her bones, ribs, spine, clavicle, and in the center, 2 gray masses branching like trees. Her lungs. But there are spots, dark spots. Clouds where there should be clarity. She touches the film. Her fingers tremble. Watashi, she whispers. Me, Brennan nods. He doesn't speak Japanese, but he understands the question. He taps the dark spots with his pen. says something in English. The blonde nurse translates haltingly, sick. Inside. Here. She pulls her hand back like the film is burning, because she understands now. This machine, this box with glass tubes and humming wires, it sees through her. Through skin, through muscle. Through everything she thought was private and protected. It sees her spirit. Her essence. The parts of her that should be invisible. And those parts are dying. Zero X-ray machines existed in Japanese civilian hospitals on Saipan. Zero on Okinawa. The Imperial Army had a few portable units, reserved for officers mostly or critical cases in Tokyo. But a frontline nurse, a woman, she'd never even heard of a machine that could photograph your insides. The propaganda officers had told them Americans have demon technology. Machines that steal your soul. Boxes that trap your spirit so you can never reach your ancestors. She'd thought it was exaggeration. Motivation. A way to make surrender unthinkable. Now she's staring at her own ribcage on a piece of film. And she doesn't know what's real anymore. Brennan sets the film down on the table, opens a drawer, pulls out another film, holds it up beside hers. This one is clear, no dark spots, just clean gray lungs, symmetrical and whole. He points to the clear film. Good, the nurse translates. He points to her film. Bad. She nods. She understands bad. Brennan takes a grease pencil, circles the dark spots on her film, counts them aloud in English. 1, 2, 3, 4. He writes the number 4 in the corner. Then he pulls out a third film from the drawer. This one is worse. The lungs are almost entirely white. Consumed. He holds it up, shakes his head, makes a cutting motion across his throat. Dead. Then he holds up her film again, points to the 4 spots, holds up 4 fingers, reaches into his pocket, pulls out the white tablet box, pops out 4 tablets, lines them up on the table, 1 tablet per spot. He mimes swallowing, points at her, points at the tablets, points at the clear film. You take these. You become this. She stares at the tablets. Doku, she whispers. Poison. The nurse doesn't understand. Brennan frowns. He picks up one of the tablets, puts it in his own mouth, swallows it dry. No water, just gulp. He opens his mouth afterward, empty. Then he smiles, not cruel, not mocking, just patient. He holds out another tablet to her. She takes it, slowly, places it on her tongue. It tastes like chalk and bitterness. She swallows. It scrapes down her throat. Brennan nods, writes something on his clipboard. The blonde nurse brings over a canteen. Water. She drinks. The tablet settles in her stomach like a stone. Brennan says something to the nurse. The nurse leaves. Returns a minute later with a tray. On it a glass of milk, white, creamy. Still cold. She hasn't seen milk in 2 years. Brennan hands it to her. Mimes drinking. She takes the glass. Holds it, stares at the surface. In the field hospital, they drank boiled water and weak tea. Sometimes coconut water if they could find it. Milk was a memory from childhood. From before the war, before rationing, before everything turned gray and hard and scarce. She drinks. It tastes like sweetness, like fat, like something her body forgot it needed. She finishes the glass. Brennan takes it back, nods approvingly, writes again. The U.S. military screened 100% of POWs within 48 hours of capture. TB, dysentery, malaria, malnutrition. The average medical exam took 18 minutes, longer than most American recruits received during induction. Why? Because sick prisoners spread disease, and disease killed faster than bullets. Streptomycin, the antibiotic Brennan just gave her, cost $150 per patient course in 1945. That's $200-500 in today's money. The U.S. treated 89% of POWs with TB. The Japanese military, 12%. Officers only. She didn't know any of this. All she knew was, the enemy just gave her medicine that costs more than her father earned in a year. Brennan points to a cot in the corner. Canvas. Thin mattress. A folded blanket. He mimes sleeping. She walks over, sits. The cot creaks but holds. The blanket smells like soap. She pulls it over her lap. Brennan says something to the nurse. The nurse nods, leaves. comes back with a clipboard and a pencil, hands them to her. "Right," the nurse says in broken Japanese. "Name, age. Where born?" She stares at the clipboard. This is the interrogation, she thinks. This is where it starts. They soften you with food and medicine and kindness, and then they ask for names, for bases, for troop movements. And if you don't answer, the kindness stops. But the nurse just stands there, waiting. Brennan is across the tent now, washing his hands again, not even looking at her. She writes, "Name Hoshino Akiko. Age 23. Birthplace Fukuoka Prefecture." The nurse takes the clipboard, reads it, nods, walks away. That's it. No questions about her unit. No questions about the field hospital. No questions about anything. She lies down on the cot. The mattress is thin but softer than the ground. The blanket is rough but warm. Her lungs ache. Her throat is dry. But her stomach is full. And for the first time in 6 months, she's not cold. She closes her eyes. Outside the tent, she hears voices. American voices laughing. Someone's playing a harmonica. The melody is unfamiliar, not Japanese, not military, just music. She doesn't sleep, but she rests. And somewhere in the back of her mind, a question starts to form. A question she's not ready to ask out loud yet. What if everything we were told was a lie? They give her pills. White tablets twice a day, brought by the blonde nurse who never speaks. Just sets them on the wooden table beside the cot with a glass of milk. Cold, always cold, like they have infinite ice somewhere, and waits until Akiko swallows. The other POWs whisper. There are 6 of them in the quarantine tent now. All women. All nurses or civilians captured during the Saipan collapse. They sleep on cots arranged in 2 rows, canvas walls separating them from the main camp. At night, when the guards change shifts and the American voices fade, the whispers start. It's poison, the woman in the cot beside her hisses. Her name is Fumiko. Older, 40, maybe. She was a midwife before the war. Slow poison. They want us to die quietly. No evidence. Another woman, Reiko, 19, a secretary at the field hospital, nods in the dark. My cousin told me. Before the war, Americans test medicine on prisoners? Like rats. Then why do I feel better? Akiko whispers back. Silence. Because she does. The fever broke on day 3. The night sweat stopped on day 6. The cough, wet, rattling. The kind that tastes like copper. It's still there but quieter. Softer. She's not waking up choking anymore. It's the placebo effect. Fumiko says, confident, your mind tricks your body, but the poison is still working. You'll see. 2 weeks, maybe 3. Then we all start dying. Akiko doesn't argue, but she's counting. Day 7 she wakes up without a headache, for the first time in months. Day 9 she eats an entire meal. Rice, canned vegetables, a piece of chicken that doesn't taste like rot, and keeps it down. Day 11. She steps on a scale during the morning medical check. The nurse writes the number on a chart. Nakamura is there, translating for a new batch of prisoners. He glances at the chart, raises an eyebrow. You've gained 4 pounds, he says in Japanese. She stares at him. That's good, he adds. Keep eating. 4 pounds in 11 days. She's been losing weight for 2 years. Everyone has. Rations cut. Supply lines bombed. The field hospital ran out of rice in April. They were eating taro root and weeds by June. She watched women waste away into shadows. Watched their cheekbones sharpen, their eyes sink, their skin turn gray. And now she's gaining weight. Streptomycin cost $150 per patient course in 1945. Produced 340 pounds of it that year. Just enough to treat a fraction of the TB cases stateside. It was experimental. Unproven. The military had to prioritize American soldiers first, then critical civilians, then, at the very bottom of the list, enemy POWs. But they still gave it to her. Because the math was simple, 1 infected PO'd in a camp of 2,000. Within 3 months you'd have 50 cases. Within 6 months, 200. Treatment was cheaper than containment. Cruelty was expensive. Compassion was logistics. But she didn't know that. All she knew was the enemy was feeding her better than her own army ever did. Day 12. Morning. The blonde nurse brings the pills as usual. Sets them down. But this time she does something different. She smiles. Not a big smile, not performative. Just a small, quick curve of the lips before she turns and leaves. Akiko stares at the pills. Fumiko is watching from her cot. Don't trust it, she says. But Akiko picks up the tablets, swallows them, drinks the milk. Whole milk, creamy, thick, and feels it coat her throat, settle warm in her belly. That night, the cough is almost gone. Day 14. Lieutenant Brennan enters the tent with Nakamura. Brennan has a new X-ray film. He holds it up to the lamp. Nakamura translates. The spots are smaller, he says. The medicine is working. You'll stay another 2 weeks. Then you move to the main camp. Akiko looks at the film. The 4 dark clouds are still there, but they're lighter, thinner, like fog burning off in sunlight. What happens in the main camp? She asks. You work, Nakamura says. Light duty. Laundry, kitchen. Nothing strenuous, you get paid. She blinks. Paid. 10 cents a day US currency. You can buy extra supplies from the canteen. Soap, toothpaste, cigarettes if you want. She doesn't understand. Why would you pay us? Nakamura looks at Brennan. Brennan shrugs. Nakamura looks back at her. Geneva Convention, he says. Prisoners of war aren't slaves. You work, you get paid. Rules are rules. Rules are rules. That phrase sits in her chest like a stone. Because in the Imperial Army, there were no rules for prisoners. Prisoners were jokusai, shattered jewels. Better to die than surrender. And if the enemy captured you, you deserved whatever came next. Torture, execution, humiliation. The propaganda officers had been clear the Americans follow no laws. They are animals in uniforms. But here's Lieutenant Brennan, standing in a canvas tent in the middle of the Pacific, following a treaty signed in Switzerland before the war even started. Rules are rules. Day 16. She gains another 2 pounds. Her cheekbones are less sharp. Her wrists are less bone. She catches her reflection in a metal tray during breakfast and barely recognizes herself. She looks alive. Fumiko is still losing weight, still refusing the pills. I won't make it easy for them, she says. Her cough is getting worse, wet, thick. The nurses have started isolating her cot with an extra curtain. Reiko, the 19-year-old, started taking the pills on day 10. She's gaining weight too. Her fever broke on day 13. She doesn't whisper about poison anymore. Day 18. Akiko wakes up before dawn. The tent is quiet except for the sound of breathing. Fumiko's labored, Reiko's soft and steady. Outside she hears birds. Not the screech of jungle parrots. American birds, softer, musical. She sits up, looks at the table beside her cot. The pills are already there. The nurse must have come in while she was sleeping. But there's something else on the table now. A piece of paper. Folded. She picks it up, opens it. It's a letter. Not to her, from her. The one the Red Cross worker gave her on day 8. The one she was supposed to write to her family in Japan. She'd left it blank. Too ashamed. But someone, Nakamura, maybe, or one of the nurses, left it on her table. A pencil sits beside it. She stares at the paper. Her family doesn't know if she's alive. They probably think she's dead. Her mother, her younger brother, her father. If he's still alive, he was conscripted in 43, sent to Manchuria. No letters since. She picks up the pencil, writes 5 words. I am alive. They feed me. She stops. Stares at the words. They feel obscene. Impossible. She adds one more line. The enemy is not what we were told. Her hand shakes. She folds the paper. Sets it on the table. She doesn't know if she'll send it. But she wrote it. And that's the 3rd crack. On day 19, a female nurse enters the tent. Not the blonde one. This one is older. Brown hair tied back. She's carrying a metal tray covered with a white cloth. She walks directly to Akiko's cot. Sets the tray down on the table. Pulls back the cloth. Metal instruments. Sharp. Hooked. Gleaming under the tent light. Akiko's blood turns mice. The nurse smiles. says something in English, gestures to Akiko's mouth, points at the instruments, mimes opening her jaw. Akiko clamps her mouth shut, because she knows what this is. The propaganda films in Tokyo had shown it. American soldiers standing over prisoners with pliers, pulling teeth, one by one, slowly. The prisoners screaming, the soldiers laughing. They take the gold fillings, the film said, melt them down, make rings souvenirs, proof of kill. Akiko has 3 fillings, all gold. Her father paid for them in 1938, before the war, when the family still had money. She's felt them with her tongue 1,000 times, smooth, solid, hers. The nurse says something again, louder, still smiling. Akiko shakes her head, presses her lips together. The nurse frowns, turns, calls out toward the tent entrance, Nakamura. 30 seconds later, he walks in, sees the tray, sees Akiko's face, size, dental exam. He says in Japanese, she's going to check your teeth. Fill cavities, not pull them. Fill them, liar. Akiko hisses. Nakamura rubs his face. We've been over this. You want the gold, she says. Her voice is shaking. That's why you've been feeding me, fattening me up. So I'm strong enough to survive when you rip them out. Nakamura looks at the nurse, says something in English. The nurse nods, leaves the tent, comes back 2 minutes later with another POW, one of the women from the main camp. Older, 50 maybe, missing 2 front teeth, but the rest of her teeth are intact, and when she opens her mouth, Akiko sees it, fresh white fillings. Not gold, white. The woman says something in Japanese, Osaka dialect. They fixed 6 of my teeth. Didn't take anything. Didn't hurt. I was scared too. But look. She opens wider, taps one of the fillings with her fingernail. American material, stronger than gold, they said. Akiko stares. The nurse gestures again, pats the wooden chair she's set up beside the cot. Sit. Nakamura translates. Just an exam. If you have cavities, she'll fill them. If you don't, you leave. 10 minutes. That's all. Akiko doesn't move. Nakamura crouches down, eye level. Listen to me, he says, voice low. 68% of Japanese POWs had untreated dental disease when they arrived. 68. Infections. Abscesses. Rot? You know what happens if a tooth infection spreads? It gets into your blood, into your brain. You die painfully. The U.S. military doesn't want that. Not because they love you, because it's cheaper to fix your teeth than to treat sepsis. He stands. So sit in the chair. Let her look. And if you still think she's going to pull your teeth, I'll personally file a report with the camp commander. Akiko looks at the older woman, at her white fillings, at the nurse, who's adjusting the instruments with the efficiency of someone who's done this 1,000 times. Slowly, she stands, walks to the chair, sits. Her hands grip the armrest so hard her knuckles turn white. The nurse puts on gloves, picks up a small mirror, a metal pick, leans in close, says something soft in English. Nakamura translates open. Akiko opens her mouth. Barely, just enough for the nurse to see her front teeth. Wider, Nakamura says. She opens wider. The nurse inserts the mirror, angled, checking the back teeth. The pick taps lightly against enamel. Click. Click. The nurse hums, not pleased. Pulls the mirror out. Says something to Nakamura. 7 cavities, he translates. 3 shallow. 4 deep. 1 is close to the nerve. If it gets worse, you'll need the tooth pulled. But if she fills it now, you keep it. 7. Akiko didn't know. She's had tooth pain for months, dull, constant. But everyone had tooth pain. There was no dentist at the field hospital, no supplies. You chewed on the side that hurt less and kept working. The nurse picks up a syringe. Small, thin needle. Akiko's eyes go wide. Novocaine. Nakamura says quickly. Numbing agent. So you don't feel pain during the procedure. She's going to inject it into your gums. Then nothing. No. Akiko whispers. Yes, Nakamura says flatly. Or you feel everything when she drills. Drills. He points to a small hand-cranked device on the tray. Removes the decay. Then she fills the hole. Without the numbing agent, it's excruciating. With it, you'll just feel pressure. Your choice. The nurse is waiting. Syringe in hand, patient. Akiko closes her eyes, opens her mouth. The nurse swabs her gum with something cold. Then the prick, sharp, fast. A sting that spreads into a burn and then nothing. Her gum goes numb. Then her cheek. Then half her tongue. She tries to speak. It comes out slurred. What did you? Relax, Nakamura says. It wears off in 2 hours. The nurse picks up the drill. It's not electric. Just a metal rod with a crank handle. She positions it against Akiko's back molar. Starts turning the handle. The sound is horrible. Grinding. Scraping. But Akiko doesn't feel it, just pressure vibration. The nurse works quickly, efficiently stops, wipes the tooth. Picks up a small spatula. Scoops white paste from a jar, packs it into the cavity. Smooths it, presses. Done. She moves to the next tooth. 12 minutes later, 7 fillings, white. Smooth. The nurse hands Akiko a cup of water. Rinse, Nakamura says. Akiko rinses. Spits into a metal bowl. Her mouth tastes like chemicals and chalk. The nurse removes her gloves, says something to Nakamura. He nods. She says, "You did well." He translates. "Come back in 2 weeks. She'll check if the fillings are holding." The nurse packs up her tray. Smiles at Akiko again. Leaves. Akiko sits in the chair. Her face is still half numb. She runs her tongue over the fillings. They're smooth, solid. No pain. Her gold fillings are still there. She looks at Nakamura. Why? Why what? Why fix them? Why not just leave me? Nakamura tilts his head. You really don't get it, do you? She doesn't answer. You're not a body to extract resources from, he says. You're a prisoner of war. The Geneva Convention says we treat you with dignity, feed you, house you, give you medical care. Not because you deserve it, not because we like you, but because we're better than the alternative. He turns to leave, stops at the tent flap. Your army left you to die on Saipan, he says without looking back. We're keeping you alive. Think about what that means. He leaves. Akiko sits alone in the chair, her mouth still numb, her teeth fixed, her heart cracked open. That night, she lies on her cot, cleaner than any bed she's slept in since 1941, and touches her teeth, all still there, 7 filled, 0 missing. Her jaw doesn't ache. Her gums don't bleed. The constant low throb that's been her companion for 8 months is gone. She runs her tongue over the smooth white fillings, over and over. A nervous habit, proof that what happened today was real. Across the tent, Reiko is asleep, breathing soft and steady. Fumiko is awake. Akiko can tell by the rhythm, but she's not whispering tonight. Just staring at the canvas ceiling, coughing every few minutes. Wet, thick. Getting worse. She refused the pills again today. I won't make it easy for them, she'd said. Akiko doesn't argue anymore. The next morning a Red Cross worker enters the tent. Not military. Civilian. Older man, gray beard, round glasses. He's carrying a wooden box and a stack of paper. He sets the box on the center table, opens it. Inside envelopes, pencils, stamps. Nakamura is with him. You're allowed to write home, he announces in Japanese. 1 letter per week. Maximum 1 page. The Red Cross will deliver it through neutral channels. Your family will know you're alive. Silence. No one moves. They'll read it first. Fumiko says from her cot. Censor it. Change the words. Make us sound grateful. They'll read it. Nakamura admits. For security. Troop locations, base intel. Anything classified gets redacted. But your family gets the rest. Why would you let us write? Reiko asks. Her voice is small. Scared. Because? Nakamura says. The Geneva Convention says you can. Geneva Convention. Like it's a spell. A law stronger than war. The Red Cross worker says something in English. Nakamura translates. He says 41% of Japanese POWs write letters, compared to 89% of German POWs. He's wondering why. I told him it's shame. Surrender stigma. He doesn't really get it. Akiko stares at the box of envelopes. Her family thinks she's dead. They have to. The field hospital was overrun. No survivors reported. Even if they hoped. Even if they prayed. It's been 6 weeks. Hope dies after 6 weeks. But she's not dead. She's gaining weight. Her lungs are clearing. Her teeth are fixed. She sleeps on a cot with a blanket. She eats 3 meals a day. She drinks milk. And if she writes that, if she tells them the truth, what will they think? That she betrayed the emperor. That she surrendered willingly. That she's a coward, a traitor, a jokusai who refused to shatter. But if she doesn't write, they'll never know. She stands. Walks to the table. Takes an envelope, a piece of paper, a pencil, sits, stares at the blank page. Her hand shakes. She writes, "Mother, I am alive." She stops. The pencil hovers. What comes next? I was captured. No, that sounds like failure. The Americans treated me. No, that sounds like collaboration. I am not injured. That's neutral. Safe. She writes, I am not injured. They feed me. I am in a medical camp. I have tuberculosis. But they are treating it. I am getting better. She pauses, reads it back. It sounds insane. The enemy is healing her. The enemy is saving her. She adds, I do not know when I will come home. I do not know if father is alive. Please tell Kenji I am thinking of him. Kenji, her younger brother. 15 when she left. 16 now, maybe 17. Old enough to be conscripted. Old enough to die. She signs it Akiko, folds the paper, slides it into the envelope, seals it, writes her mother's address in Fukuoka on the front, hands it to the Red Cross worker. He takes it, nods. Puts it in a canvas bag with 3 other letters. Reiko wrote 1, 2, Akiko realizes. And one of the women from the other tent. The worker leaves. Nakamura lingers. You did the right thing, he says. Did I? Akiko whispers. Your mother deserves to know you're alive. She'll think I'm a traitor. Nakamura looks at her for a long moment. Then he says, my mother thought the same about me. When I enlisted. When I put on this uniform. She didn't speak to me for 6 months. Then I sent her a letter from basic training. Told her I was doing it because I'm Japanese. Not in spite of it. She wrote back. 1 line. Ganbari. Do your best. He adjusts his cap. Your mother will understand. Or she won't. But at least she'll know. He leaves. Akiko sits at the table. Stares at her hands. They're steadier now. Less bony. The skin isn't as gray. Fumiko coughs. Hard. Long. Phlegm rattles in her chest. You should take the pills, Kiko says quietly. No. You're dying. We're all dying. Fumiko says. I'm just doing it with dignity. Akiko doesn't respond. Because she doesn't know what dignity means anymore. Is it dying on your terms? Or living despite them? 3 days later, the letters go out. The Red Cross worker returns with a receipt. Proof of delivery to the neutral courier. Nakamura pins it to the bulletin board outside the tent. 4 letters. 4 families who will open envelopes and see handwriting they thought they'd never see again. 78% of letters sent by Japanese POWs were successfully delivered. 78. That means 22% didn't make it. Lost in transit. Destroyed by Japanese authorities. Intercepted by military censors who decided the message was too dangerous. Too demoralizing. Too true. Akiko will never know if her mother got the letter. But she wrote it. And that's the 4th crack. A week later, Lieutenant Brennan enters the tent with a new X-ray. He holds it up. The spots are smaller, fainter. Almost gone. 2 more weeks of treatment. Nakamura translates. Then you move to the main camp. Light work duty. You'll be assigned a barracks. You'll get paid 10 cents a day. What kind of work? Akiko asks. Laundry probably, kitchen prep. Nothing strenuous. You'll work 6 hours a day. Sundays off, Sundays off. She hasn't had a day off since 1942. Brennan says something else. Nakamura hesitates, then translates. He says you're doing well. Better than expected. He's proud of you. Proud. The word lands like a punch. An American officer. Proud. Of her. She doesn't know how to feel. That night, Fumiko's coughing stops. Not because she's better. Because she's too weak to cough. The nurses move her to an isolated corner. IV fluids. Oxygen mask. She refused treatment for 31 days. Her lungs are shredded. The infection has spread to her bloodstream. She dies on day 33, quietly, in her sleep. The nurses cover her body with a white sheet, carry her out on a stretcher. They handle her gently, respectfully. No one laughs, no one celebrates. The American medics look sad. Akiko watches from her cot. She's crying. Not loud. Just silent tears, because Fumiko was right about one thing: they're all dying. Some fast, some slow. But Fumiko chose fast, and Akiko chose slow, and she doesn't know which one was braver. 3 weeks after Fumiko dies, Akiko moves to the main camp, Barracks 12. Wooden slats, tarp upper roof. 20 women per building, cots arranged in rows. A pobbly stove in the center. Shelves for personal items. Not that anyone has personal items. Just the clothes they were captured in and the Red Cross hygiene kits: soap, toothbrush, comb, sanitary napkins. Her bunkmate is a woman named Sachiko, 31, schoolteacher from Okinawa, captured when her village was shelled. She's been in the camp for 4 months. You'll get used to it, Sachiko says on the first night. She's brushing her hair, long black, cleaner than it should be. Laundry duty isn't bad. The machines do most of the work. You just load, unload, fold. 6 hours. Then you're free. Akiko repeats. The word sounds strange. Free enough, Sachiko says. You can walk the camp, read in the library, play cards. Some women started a garden, tomatoes, radishes. The guards don't care as long as you stay inside the fence. A library, a garden. Akiko doesn't know what to do with that information. The next morning, she reports to the laundry. A large tent with industrial washing machines, massive, steel, loud. An American sergeant shows her the process. Load the uniforms. Add soap. Turn the crank. Wait. Transfer to the rinse tub. Wring. Hang on the lines outside. When dry, fold. Stack. Repeat. It's monotonous, physical. Her lungs ache by the 3rd hour. But it's not cruel. The sergeant doesn't yell. Doesn't hit. Just corrects her when she folds wrong. Demonstrates again, moves on. At the end of the shift, he hands her a slip of paper, a chit. Worth 10 cents. She stares at it. Canteen. He says in broken Japanese, pointing toward a building across the camp. Trade. She walks to the canteen. A small shop. Shelves stocked with soap, toothpaste, writing paper, cigarettes, candy bars, sewing kits. A price list on the wall, everything in cents. She buys a bar of soap, lavender scented. It costs 7 cents. She has 3 cents left. She holds the soap in her hand, smells it. It's hers. Earned. Purchased, not given, not stolen. Hers. She cries in the barracks that night, quietly, face pressed into her pillow. Sachiko doesn't ask why. 6 weeks pass. Akiko gains 12 more pounds. Her cheekbones soften. Her wrists thicken. Her ribs stop showing through her shirt. She works laundry 6 days a week. Sundays she sits in the library, a tent with donated books, mostly English, some Japanese, and stares at pages she can't focus on. The cognitive dissonance is unbearable. Every piece of propaganda she was taught is crumbling. Americans are not demons. They are not savages. They follow rules. They pay wages. They fix teeth. They save lives. And her own army left her to die. Supplied no medicine, no dentists, no food. Just orders to fight until death. And if you didn't die fast enough, you were a coward. One Sunday, she sees Nakamura across the camp. He's walking with another Nizei soldier, laughing about something. She hasn't spoken to him since the dental exam. She doesn't know why she does it, doesn't plan it, but she stands, walks over. Nakamura-san, she says. He stops, turns, recognizes her. Hoshino, you're out of quarantine? Yes, silence. She doesn't know what she wants to say. The other Nizei soldier excuses himself, walks away. Nakamura waits. Why did you help us? She finally asks. His face doesn't change. I'm a translator? It's my job. No, she says. Why did you specifically help us? Your people, your family, locked in camps. Prisoners like us, treated like enemies by your own country. And you still put on the uniform. You still saved us. Why? Nakamura looks at her for a long time. Then he looks at the ground, kicks a pebble. You want the truth? He asks. Yes. Because? He says slowly. If I become like the enemy, I lose twice. She doesn't understand. He sighs, sits down on a bench near the library tent. Gestures for her to sit. She does. My family is in Manzanar, he says. Internment camp. California desert. Barbed wire. Guard towers. They didn't do anything wrong. They're American citizens. My dad was born in Sacramento. My mom came over in 1920, became a citizen in 25. They paid taxes, ran a business, and in 1942 soldiers showed up and said, "You're Japanese, so you're dangerous." Gave them a week, took everything. He pauses. My brother joined the 442nd, all Japanese unit, fought in Italy, got a Purple Heart. Took shrapnel in his leg, saving a white officer who called him a Jap bastard the week before. You know what my brother said when I asked him why he did it? Akiko shakes her head. He said, because if I let him die, they win. They get to say we're not real Americans, that we don't belong. But if I save him, if I'm better than his hate, then maybe, one day, his kids won't hate me. Nakamura looks at Akiko. I didn't join the army because I love America, he says. I joined because I refuse to let hate define me. Your propaganda said we're monsters. My government said I'm a traitor. And you know what? If I act like either of those things, they're both right, so I don't. I follow the rules. I treat prisoners with dignity, I translate. I save lives. Not because you deserve it, but because I deserve to be better than the worst thing anyone's ever said about me. Silence. Akiko stares at her hands. Your army told you to die, Nakamura says quietly. Ours told us to live. Think about what that means. He stands, adjusts his cap. You're doing well, Hoshino, he says. Keep it up. He walks away. Akiko sits on the bench. The sun is setting. Orange light through the fence. She can hear women laughing in the barracks. Smell dinner cooking in the mess hall. Tomato plants growing in the garden plot. She thinks about Fumiko. Dead because she refused to believe the enemy could be human. She thinks about her mother, who may or may not have received the letter. She thinks about Nakamura, fighting for a country that imprisoned his family, saving the people who tried to kill his brother. And she realizes the war didn't end when she was captured. It's still happening. Inside her head, every day. A war between what she was taught and what she's lived. And she doesn't know who's winning. That night she writes another letter. Shorter this time. Mother, I am still alive. I am working in the camp. I am paid for my labor. I do not understand this war anymore. I do not understand who the enemy is. I thought I knew. I was wrong. I hope you can forgive me. Akiko. She seals it. Hands it to the Red Cross worker the next morning. She doesn't know if it will arrive. But she sends it anyway. Because Nakamura was right. Living is harder than dying. And she's choosing hard. They told me to breathe deeper, she says, hands folded in her lap. I thought it was the end. Instead, it was the beginning of a different war. The one inside my head. The year is 1987. 42 years after the war ended. The journalist sits across from her in a small apartment in Fukuoka. Tape recorder on the table, notebook open. He's young. 26. Too young to remember the war. Too young to understand what surrender meant. Akiko is 68 now. Hair gray, face lined, hands still steady. She never married, never had children. In post-war Japan, a woman who surrendered was damaged, unmarriageable, unemployable in anything respectable. She worked in a textile factory for 30 years. Retired quietly. Lives alone. The journalist found her through Red Cross records. A list of Japanese women POWs, only 40, 3 still alive. Most refused interviews. Akiko said yes. Why now? The journalist asks. Because, she says, I'm tired of carrying it alone. She stands, walks to a wooden dresser, opens the bottom drawer, pulls out a folder. Yellowed. Fragile. She brings it to the table. Opens it inside an X-ray film. Her ribcage. Her lungs. 4 dark spots, faded by time but still visible. They gave this to me, she says, when I left the camp, October 1945. The war was over, they processed us for repatriation, gave us our medical records. This was mine. She holds the film up to the window. Light filters through. Her bones frozen in time. 42 years old. I hid it, she says, for decades. In this drawer. Because if anyone saw it, if they knew I was treated, saved, healed by the Americans, they'd say I collaborated. That I betrayed the Emperor. That I should have died instead. She sets the film down. Did you believe that? The journalist asks. She's quiet for a long time. Yes, she says. For years I believed it. I came home in 45. My mother barely recognized me. I'd gained 30 pounds in the camp. I was healthy. She thought I'd been brainwashed. My brother, Kenji, he survived the war, came back from Manchuria in 46, missing 2 fingers, half starved. When he saw me, he asked, "How are you so fat?" I didn't know how to answer. She pours tea. Her hands don't shake anymore. They did for the first 10 years. But not now. I didn't tell anyone the truth. She continues. I said I was held in a labor camp. That I worked in a factory. That I barely survived. People accepted that. It fit the narrative. Americans are monsters. We suffered, but I didn't suffer. Not the way I was supposed to. The journalist writes, "What do you mean?" I mean, Akiko says, leaning forward, they fed me, medicated me, fixed my teeth, paid me, treated me like a person. And my own army, the one I served, the one I believed in. They left me to die on Saipan with no medicine, no food, no plan. Just orders to fight until we were all dead. She picks up the X-ray again. This film, she says, is proof that everything I was taught was a lie. And I've spent 42 years hating the wrong people. Silence. The journalist stops writing. Who do you hate now? The men who told us surrender was worse than death, she says. The officers who said the Americans would rape us, torture us, mutilate us. The propagandists who made us so afraid of capture that we watched our friends die rather than accept help. Her voice cracks. Fumiko. She was in the tent with me. Refused treatment. Refused the pills. Died on day 33 because she thought it was poison. She was wrong. And no one told her. No one could tell her. Because the lie was already inside her head. She sets the film down. Wipes her eyes. I lived, she says. And I've felt guilty about it every single day since. The journalist gives her a moment. Then asks, do you still feel guilty? Akiko looks at him. Really looks. Her eyes are wet but clear. No, she says. Not anymore. That's why I agreed to this interview. Because I'm done being ashamed of surviving. I'm done pretending the Americans were monsters when they saved my life. And I'm done protecting the lie. She opens the folder again, pulls out a photograph, black and white, faded. 2 people standing outside a tent. One is her, younger, thinner, wearing a Red Cross-issued dress. The other is a man in a U.S. Army uniform, Japanese face. Cap, name tag too blurry to read. Nakamura, she says. The interpreter. Took this the day I left the camp. I asked him why he did it. Why he helped us. He said, because if I become like the enemy, I lose twice. I didn't understand it then. I do now. She touches the photograph. Her finger lingers on Nakamura's face. I tried to find him, she says. After the war. Wrote letters. No response. I don't know if he survived. I don't know if he ever saw his family again. But I need him to know. Wherever he is, that he was right. Right about what? About living, she says. He told me. Your army told you to die. Ours told us to live. And he was right. Living is harder. Living means carrying the weight of everything you survived. Every person who didn't. Every choice you made. Every lie you believed. She folds the photograph back into the folder. I spent my life hating the wrong people, she says. And loving the wrong nation. The journalist closes his notebook. What do you want people to know? When they read this story. Akiko looks out the window. The city is loud, modern, rebuilt. Nothing like the Fukuoka she left in 1943. Nothing like the Saipan she was captured on in 1944. I want them to know, she says. That propaganda doesn't just kill you in war. It kills you after. It makes you hate the people who saved you. It makes you ashamed of surviving. It makes you spend 40 years hiding an X-ray film because you're terrified someone will find out the enemy treated you like a human being. She turns back to him. And I want them to know that the bravest thing I ever did wasn't fighting. It was accepting help from the people I was taught to fear. The interview ends. The journalist publishes the story 6 months later. It runs in a small regional newspaper, gets picked up by a national magazine, sparks debate. Some readers call Akiko a traitor. Others call her a hero. Most just call her honest. She dies in 1993, 74 years old. Quiet, no fanfare. But before she dies, she donates 3 things to the National WWII Museum in Tokyo: the X-ray film, the unsent letter to her mother, and the photograph of her and Nakamura. At the bottom of the photograph, in faded ink, she'd written 5 words in English. Words she learned in the camp. Words she practiced for 42 years. Words she finally understood. They saved me from myself. And beneath that, in Japanese, one more line: Kiru kodo wa tatako kodo yorimo muzukashi. Living is harder than fighting. The museum curator finds a note tucked inside the folder. Handwritten, dated 1992, it reads, "To whoever finds this, I was told the Americans were demons. I was wrong. I was told surrender was worse than death. I was wrong. I was told my life had no value unless I died for the emperor. I was wrong. The enemy gave me medicine, food, dignity, and a future. My own army gave me nothing but lies. I do not ask for forgiveness. I ask for memory. Remember that wars are fought by people who believe what they are told. And the greatest weapon is not the bomb or the bullet. It is the lie that makes you fear the wrong enemy. I survived because someone refused to see me as less than human. I hope one day we all do the same." Hoshino Akiko, 1944-1993. The photograph still hangs in the museum. Visitors stop, stare, read the inscription. They saved me from myself. And some of them, just some, walk away asking the question Akiko spent 42 years trying to answer. Who is the enemy? And what if I've been fighting the wrong war?